Man, it's been a bit. Alex is really running late today. I wonder what's holding him up. I don't know. It's just unlike him to be so late to record. Ki, ma, ma, ma. Ki, ma, ma, ma. What the hell? What is that? Ki, ma, ma, ma. Okay. Wait a minute. What's today? What's today's? Oh no. Oh no. I forgot today was Friday the 13th. Oh, that must mean... Oh, I can't wait for Alex anymore. That means Jason's coming. And everyone knows the only way to stop Jason is to recount and make hilarious jokes about episodes of 5 separate weekly anime shows. Oh no, I better get started. Where's my list? Okay, I got it. I got my list. I got my shows. How do we usually start? Okay, this is the protagonist seat. I'm Ian. Normally I'm here with Alex, but Jason's gonna come impale me on my microphone if I don't record the episode quick enough. Oh no! Okay, what's first? We did the intro. What's next? First on the list. Okay. First up, we got Akudama Drive. Alright? This show is pretty great. We get setups this week. This is a very big setup / plot heavy week. So, we get the kids out of the vault. Alright? These weird kids, they stop the train from getting murked all to hell. But the train is still heading to Kanto. And the kids need to get to Kansai. So what do? How do you turn around a train? I forget, but somehow they do. But while they're figuring all that out, Hacker's having his own moral dilemma. He's like, all right, I want to get to Kanto. That is my entire life's goal. Because living in Kansai, that's boring. All right, we just can't do nothing. Everything's already hacked and hackable. I need excitement. And how do I go to get my excitement? On the train to Kanto. So he opts to stay. And then the kids are like, what about your bomb collar? Because do you remember that everyone's wearing bomb collars that will blow their heads off? I was. And then it turns out it's just fine. Because Hacker can hack everything ever. And he was like, you know what, I'll give you this. It was a little tough. But he hacks off his collar, and he's getting ready to leave. Everyone's going to jump off the train. Hacker's going to Kanto. And before they leave, Swindler is like, hey man, are you sure you want to do this? And Hacker says, yeah. He's dead set. The boy is dead set and also a major plot device. They are probably getting rid of him. The ultimate Deus Ex Machina. But before he leaves, he's like, hey, Swindler, you said you wanted one of my drones? Well, here you go. Take it and have it and cherish it. And I guess Swindler's thing is like returning the things that she owes people, because now she's like, now none of us can die. All right? Now none of us can die, because I got to return this to you. And I'm gonna. Oh, believe me, I will. And then everyone kind of separates and fucks off. And now they're in like this weird in-between zone between the ultimate hyper-quarantine zone and the, what's it called? Kansai. But they're taking a break because it's raining. Taking a break. And everyone's like, man, I wish we had something to eat. It's real hungry. Everyone's getting real hungry. Turns out the kids have a lunchbox that freaking spawns whatever you want. The most busted thing ever that just breaks all economies of the world. Because fuck your economy. We don't need it. We're in Star Trek now. We just fabricate everything we need and it's fine. No more economy. The war economy, Jack. Because I need to fulfill the quota, Metal Gear references. Gotta make one every episode, or else fate intervenes and one of us will die. Only to be brought back again in this cruel cycle of the good, the bad, and the comfy. But anyway, everyone eats their lunches, because turns out it just spawns anything you ask for. So Brawler is like, I want meat. And my boy gets like a whole bunch of raw steaks that he just chows down on. Everyone eats their lunch, even though Hoodlum is a little disappointed. Because Hoodlum is like, I want some ramen. And I was like, we're going to get some freaking... I get excited whenever ramen shows up in a show because it always looks so good. It always looks so good. But unfortunately, the box does not do soups because the box will get dirty. Which is weird because you would think that like 6 raw steaks all in the same room would also get really dirty. But shut up, don't worry about it. Courier and Swindler both get takoyaki. And Swindler gives the kids some of her takoyaki, and she's like, here, don't you guys need to eat? And they're like, not really. I mean, we feel the emptiness, but we feel no drive to eat. Which has me wondering if these kids are like crazy advanced AI robots or some shit like that. That's why they're being transported in a sealed vault, like commodities. But I don't know yet. We also get a moment where they go over the plan a little bit more. And I forget exactly where they're going, but they're going to like, oh, it's some big tech expo hall they all need to go to. So that's the next stop. They're going to make it in. All they need to do is get there. That's the plan. They need to get there first. There's a scene where Swindler tries to pawn off the 500 yen coin to Courier again, which of course he refuses because dropped money is bad luck, which I guess actually is a thing. At first I thought it was just like he was being nice because he knew that the takoyaki place from episode 1 didn't take cards or whatever their digital credit currency is, but I guess he just actually is like, nah, I don't need it. And this does not go over well with Swindler. Much like the next event that happens, where Doctor is mighty suspicious of these children and demands to know what the plan is. She wants to know everything that's going on in the behind the scenes, and the kids are like, no? And she doesn't buy it. She's not like, I don't know. I still want to know all the other stuff. And then the plot steps in and is like, no, we can't actually reveal everything to you guys yet. So just like keep on with the plot. And the plot takes the form of Swindler, of course, who's like, hey, don't bully these kids. A hard anti-bullying stance from a show about criminals causing just untold levels of havoc. And I am all for it. I am all for it. B-plot this episode. We followed the executioners. Turns out the weird shadow executioner council is mad pissed that these people got to Kanto, or got on the train to go to Kanto, and that the executioners failed. So they look at Judi Dench, the leader of the executioners, and they're like, we're going full lockdown. We want their wanted posters plastered everywhere. We're going full lockdown, full search and destroy on these Akudama. And Dame Judi Dench is like, yes, we will do this. So things are looking bad for our protagonists. We also get a scene where she talks to the 2 executioners that have failed. And she's like, listen, things are real bad. Y'all are lucky you're escaping this scenario with just a suspension. Y'all could lose your lives. And Chick Executioner, she's not down for it. She's like, but you gotta let us help. You gotta. We failed, but you gotta let us help. And her sensei is like, just let it be, man. We're on suspension. We got off lucky. Then he disappears. I'm assuming he is going to go join the hunt. So, yeah, there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on this week. I'm looking forward to seeing how all of these different elements come together and Everything coalesces. Okay, moving on. Not a lot of bits, but a lot of personal opinions in this one. All right, what is next on the listo? Kiki, ma, ma, ma. Kiki, ma, ma, ma. Shit. It's the worst thing anyone could have possibly imagined. A callback to the opening bit. That's how you know I'm really running out of content and goofs and gaffs and bits because I'm floundering on my lonesome. Okay, what's next? We got witches. We got the journey of... Wandering Witch. The journey of Elena. Okay, this week we get that plot line as old as time itself, alright? What happens when no one can tell a lie? It happens in every, and I mean every, magical sitcom or show with magic, period. There's always one episode where no one can tell a lie. Today, we venture to the land where no one can tell lies, because magic. So, basically, Elena comes to this city, and she comes to this country, but as usual, the world of Elena is country of cities. So, like, every country is about the size of a big city. And the guards outside the door are like, hey, just to let you know, no one can lie here. And Elena's like, hey, that seems kind of awful, but okay. And they're like, yeah, it is. It's terrible. If you can do something about it, please do. Our king started this basically magical force field, and no one within it can lie. And again, she's like, that sounds terrible. And the guards are like, yep, we hate it here. Essentially, the people have found out this weird kind of workaround for it. Because technically, it's not lying if you don't speak. Because the magical field only affects the words that leave your mouth. Well, no, it affects the words that leave your mouth and the words that you write down. So you can't write down, like, sentences of lies. You can't write... Now that I think about it, you can't write fiction in this world. Because isn't fiction just a lie? Is all fiction just an elaborate lie? Who knows? In any case, she goes around, she encounters some people. No one speaks. The only people that she actually, like, sees speaking are these two dudes who are basically getting into a fist fight. And when she goes to investigate, she's talking to a dude who's like, yeah, we're all just gonna stand around and watch this, because this is how we vent our frustrations, too. So yeah, things not doing so great in the town without liars. She wanders around a little bit more, and she encounters the apprentice girl, or the girl she helped with her apprentice exam in episode 2. And basically, I can't remember her name, but she's the witch from Japan who's super into Elena. That's how I'll put it. She is like... she's real gay. That's the best way I can think of to put it. My eloquence fails me in this hour. She's super gay for Elena and just real open about it, which is probably not helped by the fact that no one can lie. But Yuri Witch, is with the government, basically. She goes around working for the government, doing somewhat what Elena does, just kind of going around fixing problems. But she spent tons of money on something, on a gift. Maybe that'll come up later, who knows? Ooh. But she spent a whole bunch of money on a gift, and she needed the work. That's it. Sometimes it's just that simple. She just needed the work. So now she works for the government. And she was sent to basically go fix this city/town/country. Meanwhile, on their journey, going around the city, they encounter a woman who can't speak at all, and not by choice. She basically communicates with people by writing on a notepad, and everyone seems to treat her like shit all the time. They're like, fuck, you shitty mage, get out of here, no one likes you. they talk to her, and basically the witch, well, former witch, tells everyone what's going on. She's our plot dump character, even though she dumps plot in writing, but we still do get a dramatization. TLDR, she wanted, or I guess TLDL, too long didn't listen. She wanted to get in the king's pants, and the king really hates liars. So what she did was she made a sword that, also the sword looks dumb as shit, but she made a sword that is connected to a force field that when the king holds it, it summons the force field around the whole city so no one can lie. And the king picks it up and immediately is like, this is hideous and ugly and I hate this sword. Hey, it works. Perfect test. He also, the witch, because again, going with themes of things, the witch gives up something important to cast, this highly powerful magic. Basically, she gives up all her magic powers and her voice, because she figured doing this one single thing would get her so deep in that king's pants that he would just take care of her forever. This is not what happened. Instead, he was like, this is kind of awful, even though it's what I totally wanted. Go live on the street now. You're useless. Without your mage, you are useless to me. And he throws her out on the street. And that brings us to today. Effectively, the trio is like, well, what do we do to stop the sword? So they come up with a plan to enter the castle. Because you can't lie. So you can't speak lies, and you can't write lies. And I actually kind of like the solution they came up to this. They came up with for this. Words and grammar are hard. Effectively, they use the witch's notebook as their number one tool. So Elena decides that they are going to write sentence fragments of truth down and tell the guards in fragments in an extremely roundabout way that does end up circumventing the law of no lying, because each one of those individual fragments was the truth. So basically, they tell the guards through several sentence fragments, they have permission to go see the king, and they're super chill, and they should just let him into the palace. And naturally, because the guards know that no one can tell a lie, they're like, yeah, sure, all right, whatever. Seems legit to me. Because, like, that's kind of the downfall in a town where no one can lie. People are super gullible because everyone just assumes that nothing can lie, and no one is really smart enough to figure out these kinds of puzzles. Anyway, they get into the palace, super MGS. They pass their charisma check with a critical 20. They get into the palace, and they encounter the king, who's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Guards, there's intruders, we gotta kill them. And all the guards are like, hey, those witches are kind of cute. I don't want to have to fight them, but they do anyway. This is when the Yuri witch is tasked with taking out all of the goober jobbers, and Elena decides she's going to take care of the king. And she does. We get a kind of neat battle segment. Elena destroys the sword and basically talks sense into the king, and is like, sometimes good people can tell white lies to do good things, and bad people can tell the truth to do bad things. And the king's like, you know what? That makes sense. And also by destroying the sword, it returns the voice and the magic to the other formerly homeless witch. And that's that. That is this Elena episode. Strangely enough, it's another one that isn't super dour. And I am down. I am all for it. I like this episode. I like these kind of tropes and stuff. They're kind of silly and weird concepts, and I like watching Elena solve problems, because I like seeing unique solutions to problems I have already seen. That is a rare treat in shows these days, so I try to cherish it whenever I can. Oh, okay, I gotta keep the pace up or else I will die. All right, third on the list, what do we got? All right, this week on Assault Lily Bouquet, because that is what the next show on the list is. Trust me, I know. Even though I am usually unprepared to follow the list closely, this time I did my due diligence and my research, and literally the bare minimum amount of effort. So, this week, it's all about this one tactic, because now the Riri's Legion, that's what it's called. Riri's Legion is now official. So we learn about the special super secret Legion tactic, the Neunwelt attack, which for all of my all of our non-German fans out there, means 9 worlds. Really breaking out the high-level German for this one, because that seems to be a trend with the naming conventions. But it's all about Neunwelt. That's like some kind of special attack they get. And basically what it is because there's not like a whole lot of plot in this episode, at least not that I remember. There's like little bits and pieces. But it's like a super combo joint force attack where everyone shoots a magic bullet, and then they pass around the magic bullet to each other, and they spirit bomb, hold your hands up, give Riri Goku your power, and then do a big boom. And so everyone decides, let's see how Alfheim, I think that's what they're called, Alfheim does with it, because they're the vets. You know, you gotta watch the vets do the cool attack before you gotta try it yourself. And all the vets show up, and they're gonna do the big attack on this big weird, huge, because I forgot that the bad guys were named Huge when I started that sentence, and then ended it in the worst way possible by talking about it. But there's a big, dangerous new Huge, and they're like, hey, you guys should show us what this is so we can learn how to do it super good. And Alfheim is actually pretty chill. So they're like, yeah, all right, whatever. And they go, and they do it on the big McLarge Huge, and it doesn't kill it. It damages it a lot, but it doesn't kill it. Unfortunately, this also means that it gets the upper hand on Alfheim, and to not mince words, because I want to keep things fairly trim, it kicks the shit out of them. So they retreat, and it's up to Riri's squad. It's up to the Yuri squad to at least stall this big McLarge Huge until reinforcements can get there. And they do. They're all fighting, and this was something I actually didn't notice, but it uses the same weapons as the same big McLarge Huge that Yu fights with her old Schutzengel in her PTSD flashbacks. Maybe that comes into play. Maybe I'll actually mention when it comes into play, unlike Yuri Witch spending a lot of money on something during the Wandering Witch segment. Who knows? Maybe I'll just forget and skip over it again. That's what we do here at the Protagonist seat. We have lots of setups with no payoff. Anywho, everyone does their super special attacks. They do their Neunwelt attack, and it doesn't work. Because it turns out that the big McLarge Huge has special shields with runes in it. It's using Maggie. It's a repair, I think it's called. Rebuild? I don't remember. Something like that. It's one that's fought lilies before. They don't kill it, but they do manage to split it in half, basically. And Riri notices that there's a charm in the center of it. Oh no. Oh no, there's a charm in the center of this one. It's giving it super magic powers. And basically, Riri notices this, and everyone else notices this, and Yu notices a very important detail. That was her old Schutzengel's charm. So this is not only a big bad McLarge Huge, this is a certain McLarge Huge that killed her Schutzengel. And then she goes what's it called? Lunatic Tranza pops up, and she goes super crazy. And then Riri uses the power of being super gay to save her again from going super cray-cray. And everyone decides they're going to team up for a special attack. And everyone in the Yuri squad does the Neunwelt attack. And it's actually kind of neat. And I like watching everyone do their own kind of attack things and pass this ball of magic to each other. But they hit it, and they disable it a little bit, and they decide they're going to jump dead ass into the center of it and pull the charm out before destroying it. And they do. They do that. And there's not really a lot I could say about that. They just do it. And everyone's working together, and even though they're rookies some people have only met like 2 days ago, they still work together flawlessly. And everyone wins. And just is chill, I guess. In the process, Riri's charm is broken, so I'm assuming she's going to go back and use the old charm from Yu Yu's Schutzengel. Remembering all these German words is kind of hard, but I'm assuming she's going to use Yu Yu's Schutzengel's charm. I think that's where everything's going. And that was that this week. It's team up for special attack. And then they do the special attack, and then they get some shit and some plot happens. And I guess closure, technically. I don't know if that really counts as closure, but whatever, we'll count it. It's close enough. Okay, let's go. Keeping up the pace. Moving on to the next one on the list. All right. The Day I Became God. I'm gonna say right here at the front that this episode made me cry. I cried at the end of this episode, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. But why? Let's get into why. So, this episode is all about Izunami and her dad. Basically, ever since her mom died, her dad's been in a super deep depression funk, and even though Izunami withdrew, it was her dad who, hard withdrew from the world. Basically, he is a translator, so he can do all of his work remotely, so he doesn't ever have to leave the house. Except he does at one point mention that he goes to the konbini, the convenience store, every once in a while for groceries. But things between them are pretty icy, because basically you have two people who withdrew from the world after one of their mutual relatives' deaths. So, yeah, not great. However, Odin has decided that this is the perfect way to get Izunami to win her over. So her plan is basically they go to her house when she's not there to speak to her dad and to try and get him out of the house. Because Izunami goes to her mom's grave every year on the anniversary of her death, but her dad always has some kind of excuse where he's working or something. She relays this to main character son, Yuta? Maybe? And he relays it to Odin, and Odin is like, we will get into her pants via the death of her mother. Reuniting her with her dad. Yes, that is the more appropriate way to put that, probably. So what they do is he goes to Izunami's house and rings her doorbell 6,000 times until eventually he gets an excuse that pulls her dad out of hiding, which he ends up with, I want to give Izunami a birthday present, and I don't know what to get. Please help. So her dad comes out, and he's like, I will help this. I will help you with this task. And he goes out looking like a big schlub. And they go around town with Izunami's dad, and it's kind of nice, because he's like, wow, it's been a long time since I've been out here. A lot of this stuff is real different. And he keeps going to cafes, because he's like, what is this white curry? What is this Swiss cheese dish? What is this other dish that is all cheese? And Yuta is like, man, what the hell is up with you with cheese? Come on, man, come on. And they get to the heart of the matter. They hang out with him. They show him a good time. And they kind of get him out of his shell a little bit. So he reveals that he watches the tapes that have been left over by his wife before she died. And he watches them, but he's like, hey, don't share this with Izanami, please. Keep this one to yourself. So naturally, that's not what they do. It's not what they do at all. Odin hatches a plan where basically she is going to, on one end of the phone, make her voice sound like Izanami's mother, because they watch some old home movies that have Izanami's mother in them. She's like, I'm going to impersonate her voice, and I'm going to tell her about the tapes, and then it's going to help reconnect their family, and here's how we're going to do it. Smash cut. We're in the library. Yuta, Izanami, studying. Yuta is like, hey man, do you believe in ghosts? Are you the... I'm Zach Bagans. I didn't believe in ghosts until, I don't know, I invented this crazy ghost phone. And he hands her the phone. He's like, this phone can call anyone on the other side. Do you want to try it out by calling your mom? And she's like, yeah, all right. So they leave the library and they go outside, and Odin calls via payphone, which is something you kind of forget exists living in the United States, because we don't have a lot of those. Because, hey, if you don't own your own phone, fuck you. You don't get anything. But Odin calls. She calls. She does an actual convincing voice for Izanami's mom. And she's like, hey, have you been watching the tape? Or, yeah, have you watched the tapes yet? You got to be getting near the end of those tapes that I left you. And Izanami's like, I didn't know there were tapes. And it's like a kind of a comforting... They have a comforting conversation where Izanami's mom is basically like, yeah, I'm having a good time. Everything is super chill. I run the stock rooms for God, which is a weird statement. That's a little bit of some strange stuff that Odin's pulling out, but whatever. That's her prerogative. And Izanami's like, I gotta go. Sorry, man, but I gotta dip. Thanks for letting me use your phone, dude. And she goes home and she confronts her dad about it. And her dad eventually breaks down. He's like, all right, I will watch the tapes with you, but only if we don't finish them. And at that point, I was like, oh no. That's because the tapes come with a caveat. They come with the plot caveat that's going to make me sad. And now we get into that sad shit, ladies and gentlemen. So they sit down, they start the tapes, and basically Izanami's mom left several milestone birthday tapes for Izanami, where she's like, hey, happy 6th birthday. I bet you're still just as rambunctious as ever. Hope you're being a good kid. Hey, you're finally 11. How's school going? That's got to be pretty exciting. Oh, you're 18 now. I bet you must be a beautiful woman. Or 17, sorry. Because the last 18th tape is when Izanami's dad shuts it off. But she's like, hey, I want you at the end of these tapes to destroy them and to move on. And that's why Izanami's dad won't ever finish the tapes, because he knows that if he does, he will forever be bound by the promise of destroying them. The last vestige of the memories of the wife he so dearly loved. But they get to... periodically in the tapes, Izanami's mom is like, I'm working on a special magic spell to make everyone happy and to bring happiness to everyone. I'm not quite done yet, but I think I'll have it done in the next tape. And Izanami's dad shuts the TV off and he's like, we can't finish it. And Izanami is like, nah, Dad, we have to finish it. And they watch the tape and it's, hey, happy 18th birthday. I bet you're a beautiful 18-year-old woman now. And I wish I could have been there to see it. And I hope you're taking care of your dad, because I know that after I'm gone, he's going to be a super mopey sad sack. My handsome man, he's going to be all sad. And I put it to you, because I want him to move on and find someone new. Because when he's alone, he's kind of useless. But here's the magic spell. And this part was real rough to watch. I don't know, it's always the say goodbye tapes that kind of, I don't know, there's something about shows and movies where someone knows they're gonna be shuffling off this mortal coil and they leave their last words in tape for someone that it just hits that spot, gets me every time. But she casts her magic spell to make everyone happy and says, I know that your dad has probably withdrawn, and I want him to quit being a goober and to move on. And I want you, Izanami, to never withdraw and to keep being that rambunctious, feisty little kid that I know you are. And after this tape is over, I want you both to destroy it and to move on with your lives and be happy. And then the tape ends. And Izanami's dad is pretty... He's pretty broken by this. And Izanami kind of has that realization that, oh shit, I withdrew from everything because I thought I had it bad. But here's my dad clearly just utterly broken by this. And instead of being there to support him, I just kind of selfishly withdrew into my own issues. And basically they make up. They have a moment where they agree to make up and move on and be better people. And the episode ends very touchingly. They go to Izanami's mom's grave, and over the credits we get like a series of family photos. And this one was just a sad, touching episode that really just full on John Wicked my feels and sucker punched the shit out of me. And it hit me in that all those right/wrong places. And post credits, very important. Izanami rushes over to Yuta's house and she's like, man, because of your special phone, it fixed the relationship between me and my dad. Is there anything at all I can do to repay you? I.e., it's the setup. My boy has to ask her out. Now is the perfect opportunity. Literally perfect. And he just fucking backs down again. He can't do it. He can't do it yet again. And Odin is like, understandably frustrated because he threw away this perfect opportunity. Odin is like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And Yuta is like, it would be cheating. Wah, wah. And I'm sitting on my couch like, oh, you make me so mad. Oh, you make me mad, Yuta. You make me mad. Throwing away perfect opportunities like that. What else are you going to do, be an idiot? Yes. He's going to win the girl by being a doofus. And I think the ending counter for this one is like 11 days or something. I think there's like 11 days left. I want to move on to something that made me a little bit happier this week instead of this This stuff that gut punches me every time. Please. Please bring the happiness next show. I need it. So, Fire Force was... I don't know. There's some silly moments in this episode. There's also some kind of dour moments in this episode. It alternates. Yay. So, basically, we meet Maki's family. Maki goes home to have dinner with her family. Her dad is a big general in the Imperial military. Her brother is he's an investigator. He's a special investigator. And her mom is great. Her mom is just her mom. But I like everyone's dynamic because her dad is like super... He's super intimidating most of the time, but then when Maki comes around, he's like, "Oh, Maki, it's so good to see you. Daddy loves you, Maki." And her brother is the same way with his own family, and it's just watching these crazy nutso people be crazy nutso is just great. It's just great. It's fun, and you love to see it. But her brother is going into the Nether the next day, and he's like, "Hey, I need some diamonds for my diamond armor and sword." And Maki is like, "Okay, but I will never go back to the Nether because it was so traumatic last time, so you have fun." And basically, her brother goes and gets her brother and his partner get basically suicide bombed by one of the White-clad after discovering a White-clad base in the Nether, because instead of just, hey, we found a White-clad base, me and this one guy down here alone in the dark, maybe we should go back for actual reinforcements. Maybe we should get the Fire Force, or I don't know, the fucking military in here to help us take this crazy nest of villainy out. But no. Instead, we'll keep going, we'll get suicide bombed. And basically her brother is maimed pretty badly, and Maki's dad pushes the issue of, "You gotta come back to the military where I can keep you safe." Maki is not super down for this. She asks the captain and the lieutenant, and the lieutenant is like... The lieutenant basically does a hard line like, "This place, there's no place for daddy's little girl in the Fire Force. If you ain't got the will, then you might as well go back." Which, personally, I was thinking was more like a personal challenge, like, you gotta make a choice now. You either want to be daddy's little girl, you want to be freaking super badass Fire Force Maki. You want to fight in the Fire Force, or do you want to be daddy's little girl? And she goes back to the military. She returns and is given basically a brain dead easy secretary position that she hates because nothing happens. It looks like more or less just sitting at a desk all day, which seems kinda awful. But while she's gone, everyone is kind of adjusting to life without her, and it's not going great. But everyone kind of, except Arthur, because Arthur is the dumbest fucking person ever in the history of the world ever. Everyone else kind of adjusts to it, while Arthur is just like, "She'll be back. Don't worry, she'll be back." But we get some setup for the next big mission. Basically, the Fire Force is teaming up with the 8th is teaming up with the 2nd and the Imperial military to separate into squads and more or less just raid the Nether. They're going to raid from 2 or 3 different entrances all at the same time and really put the pinch on those pesky White-clad. And we meet the 2nd captain, who I guess exercises his neck by locking his head in this crazy-ass mechanism from the ceiling and just hangs there and is okay. I don't get it. I'm assuming his powers relate to his bald ass flaming head. Dude over here looking like freaking what's his name from Sweet Tooth. Dude over here looking like freaking Sweet Tooth from the Twisted Metal franchise with his burning ass skull. But that's basically the episode this week. Not a lot happens. It's mostly just setup. Maki is away from everybody. I'm assuming at some point she's gonna have a "fuck this, I'm super independent, I don't need this" moment, and she's gonna go and she's gonna join him, and she's gonna show up at the last second and save the day. And I kinda hope that happens, cause I don't like watching Maki be sad. It makes me sad. And there was some sad shit this week. Ironically, the one show that has the most sad shit did not have any sad shit. So, like, that's pretty cool. But everything else did. So, we got no sad shit. But at what cost? At what cost? Next up on the list, keeping the list going. Shit! He's getting closer. I can feel his spiritual pressure. 'Cause everyone knows that Jason Voorhees was the greatest Bleach character of all time. Yeah, season 3 of Bleach really took a weird turn when Jason Voorhees showed up and just started murking people right and left. I mean, his Bankai was super cool, but it just felt like the styles didn't mesh well. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. What do we got next? All right. Last up on the list, we got Higurashi Gou, or Higurashi New. So, last week, we left off, everyone was getting all sketchy, spooky, scary. Turns out that's fine. All the people show up, and they're like, hey, stop that. We're going to be creepy to you guys. And they basically take down the three ruffians, and then Mr. Delicious, the famed cop, shows up and is like, hey, what's going on? Oh, hey, Shion, I didn't expect to see you here, because he knows her for some reason. I wonder what that reason could be. Could it be, quite possibly, because of the whole Yakuza connection? Maybe. Maybe not. I suppose we will have to find out that later. So, basically, the cops show up, and they take the three idiots away, and Maibata is like, hey, Shion, I owe you one. And yes, I did. Keiichi, that's his freaking name. Keiichi is like, hey, Shion, I owe you one. And Shion is basically like, well, the next time I'm in trouble, you can come to my aid. And then a whole bunch of stuff happens, and I can't remember the order of all this stuff. Like, I know briefly I know how it ends, and there's just a lot of middle stuff that I'm pretty sure is setting up how they go super nutso crazoid later. So I'll just kind of go through things as I remember it, and I'll put out the caveat that the order of the middle stuff doesn't particularly matter. So basically, I think first he goes to visit her at work, and she's being harassed by some dude who's like, ugh. He like tripped her, so she spilled his drink all over him, and he's like, ugh, wipe up my junk, because he's super pervy, and he's just big neckbeard douchebag. And he's like, wipe the junk, maid. And Keiichi steps in and is like, hey, fuck you, dude. And then that dude kicks the shit out of Keiichi. And Keiichi wakes up in the back room with Shion, and she's like, my hero. Even though you kind of beans that one up pretty hard, I appreciate the thought. They go after her shift and basically go on, I will call it a not date, because they just kind of hang out and walk around and talk about stuff. And they are laying the seeds that each of the sisters likes Keiichi. And I suspect that's where the crazy point is going to lie. That's where the Hinamizawa stressor, as I will call it, lies. So they're going around and she's like, Keiichi, would you buy me that doll? I know you said you owe me one, but it's kind of expensive. And Keiichi's a chill dude, so he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So he goes into the shop and he's like, shopkeep, I will take that fine doll in the window. And then the cashier walks around the corner, and it's Mion. They're two different people, even though, I mean, we already knew that. But, like, I bet that got someone off guard. It definitely caught Keiichi off guard. And then this kind of starts the, I'll call it, Dueling Sisters arc? Dueling Twins arc? Where basically they are competing for Keiichi behind the scenes, because Keiichi, being the main character, much like myself in my own life in middle and high school, was too dumb to figure out when females were showing interest in him. And that is a very relatable problem for me. But enough about that. Let's talk about a show where children murder each other. So basically the the Wataganashi Festival, I believe it's called, the one we saw in the first arc, where we learned about all these freaking long Japanese names, man. It's the one where we learn about the Hinamizawa curse, that festival. We're back to the part where it's starting again, and Keiichi is helping set everything up, and he's just chilling, catching his breath, and Shion walks up with some tea, and she's like, here, have some tea. You look parched, Keiichi. Could you perhaps be thirsty? And then Mion walks around the corner with 2 cups. And Shion basically bullies her about it and is like, oh, what's with the 2 cups? Why are you finding Keiichi with the 2 cups? What's with the 2 cups? And we get 2 cup gate. Why does Mion have the 2 cups? Is she really as thirsty as she claims as she guzzles down 2 cups? How many times can I say 2 cups in this segment? 2 cups. Count them. 1 for each hand. 1 cup, 2 cup. 1 for each hand, or 1 for each person. Could she have perhaps been going to give that cup to Keiichi? Yeah, that's basically it. That is where the plot and the writing is going. I suspect that she started catching the feels when he gave her the doll, because I haven't watched the original one. If Alex was here, this is where he would drop some like real intense knowledge on me. And he'd be like, well, actually, in the original series, Mion always liked him, but Shion didn't compete with her for him, or something like that. But I don't know. So we're going with just my incredibly uneducated theories this time. But Mion drinks both cups and storms off. And then I believe we jump right into the festival. We go through that whole thing again. Everyone's having a good time. Keiichi's walking around, and Mion pulls him off, and she's like, hey, I can show you something real cool. And instead of watching Rika's festival ceremonial dance thingy, we sneak into the woods with Keiichi and Shion, and they're watching the photographer guy and the blonde-haired woman, who we learned earlier in the episode actually works for the clinic. We see that we're snooping on them, and they are at this old storage shed, basically in the middle of the woods. And we're like, okay, that's weird. That's very strange. What are y'all doing out here in the woods? But then they're talking, and then they get caught, naturally. So basically the whole group is like, well, we just want to see what's inside, because we heard there's some weird shit in this old storage shed, and we're not outsiders aren't supposed to go in there, which means that naturally we're curious. And this is where the episode ends. This is the episode cliffhanger. We're walking to the shed, and there's going to be some dark shit in there, and it's going to be crazy. Next episode, we're going to get some crazy shit. Or it's just going to be tools. It's either something super crazy, or it's just like general tools, and it's going to be nothing. Who knows? I'm going to assume this time. You know what? I'm going to go out on the limb. I'm going to say this time it's a debate. This is a debate cliffhanger, where we're not really going to get anything. But I still like this show. I like mysteries, and I like trying to figure out where the mystery is going to go. It's always one of my favorite parts. But that's kind of the thing with the whole multiple timelines recounting the same course of events, is there is new stuff every time, but in the background it's still like that same old stuff is going on. We just get a little bit more perspective, of a different perspective. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one wraps up. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the answer arcs for this. I want to know the answers. I want to know what happens. I want to know. But yeah, this week ends on a cliffhanger with the tool shed. It's all sinister and locks being picked, and everyone's acting real sketchy and weird. Personally, I think there's not really going to be anything super crazy, but you never know. And that's basically it. I can feel Jason Voorhees' spiritual pressure retreating as I have scared him off with my rampant degeneracy. And we have covered 6 pretty good shows over the course of this episode. If you would also like to continue keeping Jason Voorhees out of your hair, feel free to, if you are watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment about something. I don't know, just say hello, whatever. We like stuff like that. If you are listening on any of the main podcast platforms, you know, your iTunes, your Google Plays, your Spotifys, Deezer, iHeartRadio, all of that good stuff. If you're listening on any of those, I should say, feel free to subscribe, leave reviews, likes, anything you can do to support our SEO, our search engine optimization, which has anything to support our analytics. That's what I want to say. If you would like to support our analytics, then like all our stuff. If you want to get any updates on when we post episodes, I would advise you to follow us on social media. We have a Facebook and a Twitter at Protagonist Seat for both. Makes it easy, makes us nice and easy to find. Our amazing intro song was composed and performed by Popskyy, always a good guy. Check out his backlog of music. And thanks for sticking around. Alex will probably be back next week, so we are not stuck with another episode of me floundering against some kind of supernatural entity or force in an effort to record the podcast. But anywho, that is all I have for you. Class dismissed.